Welcome back, mamas. Today, we are going to talk about this crippling mental load, this decision fatigue that we can feel as moms, how to recognize it, and really get a little bit deep in on what this is. I'm going to talk to you because you may have heard the term and not even know what it actually is. So, we're going to talk about what it is and how to recognize it and what to do about it. Okay, so let's get to it. Welcome to Prioritize with Purpose, Mama. Do you wish you had control of your days and to feel like you've accomplished something at the end of each day, but find yourself up at night, doubting that you've done enough and wondering if you'll ever have time for you again? Do you wake up with big plans only to feel exhausted, scattered, and a little like Cinderella when your to-do list just seems to grow and your day gets thrown off track again? I'm Danielle, a recovering workaholic, wife, and stay-at-home mom of 2 girls. I too was a busy mom, running around with endless to-do lists, feeling like a train wreck. I too felt guilty, wondering why I wasn't happy and wishing I could find clarity so I could be more present with my kids. I doubted myself, thinking I didn't have time, schedules must not be for me, and thinking I was too tired to figure a way forward. I knew I wanted more, but I felt so alone until I made a decision that something had to change. I did the work to get clear about what I wanted and why. In this podcast, we embrace where we are, but we don't stay there. I'll guide you with transformational tips. You'll learn mindset shifts and be challenged to take back control of your days so you get the most important things done and can be a more present mama who feels like yourself again. So grab the kid as a snack and get your laundry because I know you're multitasking. And let's get into what I like to call aligned flow. Okay, mamas. So what is this thing called decision fatigue? What does that really mean? We've all probably felt like we have dealt with it. We all have heard the term. And now I want to dive into what it means, how to recognize it, when to know if it is something that might be something deeper than decision fatigue, and also what to do about it, right? Like how to get out of it. So it's probably going to be a 2-parter because this is going to get a little bit deep, but I wanted to start out with just an example, I guess, of decision fatigue. And when I tried to think about this, I was like, I used to feel this all the time, like every day almost, probably for me, because what is decision fatigue? Let's just start there. So Natasha Duke, who is a psychotherapist from the Cleveland Clinic, says that decision fatigue is a phenomenon as opposed to like a diagnosed medical condition. She says it's a phenomenon where the more decisions a person makes over the course of a day, the more physically, mentally, and emotionally depleted they become. A person experiencing decision fatigue struggles with executive functioning. This can have a wide range of consequences, including impaired judgment. So including impaired judgment. Okay. So this is something that, like I said, we all struggle with. I feel like with ADHD, my ADHD brain tends to struggle with decision fatigue even more than maybe some because of just the way my brain functions on a normal basis. And so this is definitely something I know I can speak to. And so when I was trying to think of examples of how I could talk to you about this, it's like decision fatigue for me, and I feel like for most people, it means that you are starting to make more poor decisions as the day goes on. So this is something that typically happens more towards like the middle or end of your day. Or if it's ongoing, if it's something that's happening every day, like I said, it's probably something bigger than that, but it can be something that happens to moms more often because we tend to make decisions for multiple people, right? So we're making decisions not only for ourselves, but we're making decisions for our children, possibly for our spouse. We're making more decisions. So like the average person makes 35,000 decisions a day. This is a quote from Dr. Lisa McLean, who is a psychiatrist. And she says that by the time an average person goes to bed, they've made over 35,000 decisions. And all of those decisions take time and energy and certainly can deplete us, right? And so 35,000, so that's the average person. So I would say as mothers, you can probably maybe not double that, but you can definitely add add at least 10,000 more decisions that we have to make to our day because we are making decisions for not just ourselves, right? So, as mothers, we tend to make more decisions than the average person because we are having these little humans that we have to make decisions for, right? And those are actually maybe sometimes more stressful than the decisions that we have to make for ourselves, right? Because they impact. So, I was thinking about what would happen to me sometimes when I feel like I was in decision fatigue. If you think about it, if you go through your day and you're making a decision like right when you get out of bed, number one, probably before you get out of bed, right? Like if you have the luxury of being woken up by an alarm, you have the decision of like hitting the snooze button or not, right? Like if you're being woken up by a child, then you don't have that decision, right? You're like getting up regardless. But you have the decision of like getting dressed, like you have to get yourself dressed. You also have to get your children dressed. You have to eat breakfast. You have to decide what you're eating. You have to decide what they're eating. You have to decide if you're going somewhere, if you're going to the grocery, you have to decide what you're getting at the grocery. You have to decide, what your family is eating for the week, right? Like if you're going every day, that's too stressful for sure. So if you're not, you have to plan what you're eating for the entire week or at least part of the week, right? Like however long you feel like you can get through. And these are all decisions that we might not think of. Like you might not think of, do I give my child milk or juice or water? That might be just innate in you. Like you might have made the decision at some point in time that for breakfast every morning, my child will have milk. They don't get a decision. Like I know I did that. I didn't even realize it was something that I did, but it is something that I did because I didn't want to make that decision every day. So I chose milk with breakfast, right? And then after breakfast, they would get water. And then we only got, so much juice in a day. And if they got juice, it was watered down. And so these weren't decisions that I had to make anymore because I automated them, right? And this is what I'm going to talk about probably more on Thursday is how to make the decision to fatigue less. But what I really want to talk about today is just what that looks like for you because you might have in a day, let's say you have a party to plan and you have a form to fill out for, I don't know, your healthcare provider, or maybe you have something to fill out for your child's healthcare provider. And maybe you have the decision of whether or not you are going to, let's just say, go on a play date or go to the park, or if you're going to the store, or, it's spring now. Are we going to make the decision to make the switch over to summer clothes and get, put all the winter clothes away and get the summer clothes out? Is it time to do that? Do we need new clothes? We need to go to the store and decide what the child needs. We have to take inventory. Like we have to do all of these little things. Then it's lunchtime and we have to make a decision on what they're eating for lunch and what we're eating for lunch. And it could come to the end of the day, right? And it's time to make dinner. And if you haven't decided what you're going to make by the time that you get to dinner, then you might look at that decision. If this has been a busy day, if this has been a day where you've had to make an exorbitant amount of decisions, and you may say, oh my gosh, I can't even decide what we're having for dinner. So you make a poor decision. Like you decide at that point, you are going to be impulsive because you didn't plan ahead and you're going to order something out, or you're going to, go out to dinner, right? Or you're going to do something that you wouldn't normally have done if you had not been in that state, or you start snapping at your kids, or you make a judgment about something that begins to affect you, right? It is a poor judgment and it affects you or your child in a negative way. Now, it might not be something that's detrimental, right? But over time, if you keep making these decisions because you have not done the work to get, yourself into a place where you're not always feeling that decision fatigue, Because as moms, we have so many things on our plate. We have so many to dos. We have so many things that we have to do in a day. And if we don't have systems in place, or if we don't have routines to follow, or if we haven't automated certain things in our life, then we are probably setting ourselves up to experience this decision fatigue more often than we would if we had done something to prevent it, right? And so, some of the things, like I was reading, some of the things that decision fatigue can cause is procrastination, impulsivity, you to be tired, brain fog, irritability, overwhelm, regret. Right? These are all things that decision fatigue can cause, because I think the regret comes into play because you make an impulsive decision, or a judgment that is, not a judgment you normally would have made, and then you regret it later, right? So this is something that we want to prevent if we can. And these are things that I'm going to talk about more on Thursday, but I wanted to read a quote because we can't really do anything about the number of decisions that we have to make, right? There is nothing, we have to fill out the forms for the healthcare provider. We have to make a decision on where your child is going to go to school. You have to make the decision on what you're going to wear every day, right? You have to make the decision on what you're going to eat. You have to make all of these decisions on a given day, every single day. They are unavoidable. But what you can do is you can do some things to lessen the load. But the quote I wanted to read you is from Natalie Goldberg, and it says, "Stress is an ignorant state. It believes that everything is an emergency." So what happens is this decision fatigue, it leads to stress. It leads us to feeling tired. It leads us to make these impulsive decisions, or to be in a brain fog, right? And it leads to stress. And stress is something that it makes your body in this heightened state all the time, and it believes that everything is an emergency, right? Then all of a sudden your body is reacting like everything is an emergency. And we can't really do anything about the amount of decisions that we have to make, but we can lessen the stress on ourselves and our body by doing things that are going to lessen the mental load. They are going to lessen that load that we feel as moms, the things that we keep up in our brain a lot of times, the decisions that we have to make, but also the things that live in our head that probably don't live anywhere else. And this is something that I want to really speak to, how important it is. Again, I'm going back to prioritization, right? And I'm going back to what is important to us, right? This is always where we lead, right? Is what is important to us. And is it important to us that we have ease in our day, that we have less stress in our day? And I believe that every single person will answer yes to that question. And if we prioritize doing this work on the front end, I know that it takes time to create a routine. I know that it takes time to create a system. I know that these things take time, and time is something that you feel like you do not have any to give, right? But I promise you that once you take the time to automate some of these things, once you take the time to really figure out what or how you can make your life easier and what needs to be made easier, right? Like there are certain things that probably don't stress you out, right? Like there are things that do stress you out. And so when you figure out what those things are that do stress you out, then what we need to do is to create something around those things that make them easier for you. And so this is something that will eliminate or make the decision fatigue, because this decision fatigue does not have to occur. Again, it is not what did they say? It was a phenomenon. It's not a medical condition. She called it a phenomenon. And that just means that it is not something that you can put a finger on, but it's proven that it does play a role in all of these negative things that tend to happen in our brains and then in our lives because of the decision fatigue. And so when we take the time to figure out what is causing us to have that decision fatigue, or what is making our mental load so heavy, and that is maybe something else that we think we know what it is, right? Mental load. It just means all the things that you're carrying around in your head, on your shoulders, maybe on 14 or 15 different to-do lists. Or, if you're anything like me, I would just grab a list and make a list all the time. And then I would lose my list and I couldn't find my list. And then that created more stress, right? So we have all of these things that are weighing on our head and our shoulders and our hearts. And we tend to take them on as our own, right? This mental load that we have, that we own, and we need to figure out a way to lessen it. And I have lots of different things that I have learned over the years, the ways that you can lessen your mental load, the ways that you can eliminate this decision fatigue, the ways that you can not start to make poor decisions because you have made so many decisions during a day that you're now to the end of your day and you feel like you cannot even make one more decision. And so you just make a poor one, right? You're just like, I don't even care. And like maybe you ask your child, like, what do you want for dinner? And they say, I want ice cream. And you say, okay, fine, you get ice cream for dinner. Right? Like that is something that I'm sure someone has done because you just feel like I can't even make one more decision today. And ice cream is not going to kill this child one day. If they have ice cream for dinner one day, it is not going to be that death of them, right? It is not. Now, it's not a great decision that you want to keep making, right? And this is what we want to prevent. I want for you to not have to be in a situation where you have to feel like that you have to do something like that, or when you have to get to the end of the day and you're just like, I cannot make one more decision. Now, there are going to be things outside of your control that happen that cause frustration, that may cause this mental load, that may cause you to feel overwhelmed always, right? But what we can do on a day-to-day basis, this is not something that you should feel day to day. It's not something that you should feel day to day. And if you are feeling this the majority of your days, then please know that you need to do something about it, right? This is something that you need to do something about. Now, I am not a doctor. I am not a psychiatrist. I am literally just speaking from experience here that I know that I felt like this at the end of a lot of days. Now, I never asked my kids what they wanted for dinner and they said ice cream and I gave it to them, but I have done some other things that I can't even think of because my ADHD brain prevents me from recalling them right at this moment. But I guarantee you, I've made some parenting choices that are very similar to that in the past because I've been in this place. And I do not want that for you to feel so scattered, so out of touch with just your brain that you feel like you can't even make one more decision. Okay. And so this is a perfect time for me to remind you about the Prioritize Your Purpose coaching that I offer. This is a program that you and I will work one-on-one together, and we will uncover what your most important things are to you. We will get to the root of what your core values are. We will get to the heart of what is most important to you and how that impacts all the decisions that you make in your life. Okay. That really does impact that. But then also we take the work to the next level. And actually, I will walk you through how you use that in your life to implement different routines and systems and goals and what you want for your life. And we walk through it together so that you can be the mom, be the woman, be the wife, be the person that you want to be, right? So you can feel like yourself again. So you can get back to joy instead of feeling every day like you're overwhelmed and like you're never going to get anything accomplished. You will actually feel like you know that you're going to get the most important things done today or this week. You have a direction and you have kind of this true north that you're pointing at, and that you know that the decisions that you have made and you will make, you're going to filter through this system, and that this will mean that you are doing the most important things to you. And it will eliminate a lot of this decision fatigue. And specifically, we will walk through ways that you can do that and to make sure that you are not one of the people who is experiencing this decision fatigue on a regular basis. So please go to prioritizewithpurpose.com/coaching, and you will see the options there. Really, I would encourage you to do the 10 weeks if you can, because that is really going to walk you through from start to finish. You'll see all the details, but the 4 weeks at a minimum would be something that would be super impactful for you if you are struggling with this decision fatigue. You definitely would want at least the 4 weeks for sure, if not the 10. If you can't swing the 10, do the 4. But I will go more into all of this on Thursday, and we will talk about what are the things and the ways that you can deal with this, some of these things to make this decision fatigue less. Okay? So till Thursday, y'all. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, Mama. If so, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and then hit share and send this to a mom who needs this in her day. I'll meet you right here on Thursday. Keep smiling, y'all.